All right, Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
How everybody doing? My name is Ryne Gipson. Industry is would be nonprofit for what we're doing. And you said what moved me to hope? Yeah, what moved me to hope is my son. Like seeing him, knowing that seeing how he kind of models after me, knowing that I have to do everything to ensure that his tomorrow is made perfect or as close to perfect as possible by me today.
And pass it to your right, whoever's to the right of you on your screen.
Rosemary.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rieger. I'm with the Southeast Center for Cooperative Development, so sector is also nonprofits. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And something that moved me to hope was just this past week seeing everyone in the streets. That was really helpful and cool. Thanks. I'll pass it on to Dawn.
Hey, Dawn. She, her is my pronouns. And yes, something that's moved me to hope, I guess, along the same lines of what Brenda Gilmore said, but like the youth that planned the protest in Nashville yesterday really has me feeling hopeful. And I'm going to pass it to Sandra.
Yes, my name is Sandra Porter. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I guess having life itself has given me hope because a lot of people aren't fortunate to be alive today like I am. So I'm hopeful for that and blessed. And I will pass it on to Robert. Or Benny, as we know him. You're muted, Benny.
Okay. Benny Overton with nonprofit, Southeast Center. What gives me hope, I guess especially now, is seeing what's happening globally. I think we can finally make some movement on white supremacy and racism at last. I hope we can. I'm hopeful about what I'm seeing. Now I'll pass it on to my right, which would be Sandra. Someone's already spoken, so I'll come down to Jacqueline Miller, Merritt.
Okay, I was booted off. So are we citing reasons why we have hope?
Yes, ma'am. We're checking in. So I want you to say your name, what your sector is, where you're coming from, if you have a title or a role. And then I want you to say something that has moved you to hope. Something that's
okay, thank you. My name is Jacqueline Merritt. At this juncture, I'm employed by the Small Business Administration. I've been with the agency now for 30 years, and this pandemic is unprecedented. And I think I saw Mr. Sherrill on the Zoom, and I heard about you being on the news, how you got one of our programs but were turned down for another. So there are a lot of ambiguities like that we've been helping clients with. What gives me hope is Jeremiah 29:11. For surely I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope.
Yes, Ashe. Can you, I think we have Jacola, Ruthie, and Martha, and then myself left. Okay, I'll go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Ruthie.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Ruthie Reynolds, and I'm with the Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development at Tennessee State University. And time about what is hope for me, but I'll just use one. And it is having been through the experiences that I've had gives me hope for the future, because I saw and experienced segregation, and I am still here to talk about moving beyond measures that we never thought back in 1950 that would happen. So I know that there's hope, because holding on to hope, we as a people have accomplished so much, yet there's so much more. So I'm hopeful.
Yes, thank you so much. Martha, was that you? Were you going?
Great.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
If you can see. Yeah. Hi, my name is Martha. I am with Neta Natural and A&M Market. What is hope is people around the world. You see the support that you see it in Europe, the support all, and that
You're breaking up a little bit, Martha. Maybe you should go off video and talk.
He's with us. Use all children for the future. A great. Can you see me?
We turned the video off so that you could we could hear your audio better.
Okay, okay. I think it's off. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Yes, I was saying that, hoping, seeing the world. I'm hoping that it will continue, and this what we through is through Corona, through the what we have experiencing, that great. I have faith in people. I have faith in the world that great things will come from this.
Yes, amazing. Jacola, did you want to go?
Sure, Jacola, she, her. I'm with Free Hearts nonprofit organization here in Nashville, and what gives me hope is dreaming. Dreaming, being able to dream of a new world.
Yes, awesome. And for myself, my name is Rihanna. My pronouns are she and they. I currently work with the Net Loan Fund, as well as a lot of different community organizations in Nashville. So I'm very excited to be here with you all. One of the things that I think is really, really giving me hope is in organizing. Is that organizing has always helped to happen, that every moment that's happening now is a result of organizing, that it will be that after this is over, and so there's this through line, I think, for me, of just each of us just adding whatever little piece we can to the legacy that we're part of. And so I feel hopeful in that, right now feels really intense, really, really intense. And there will be moments when it won't be, but we still have to put that pressure on. So I feel hopeful about that. And I have a message down here. Robert, you're right. Oh, sorry about that, Robert. Would you like to go and check in with us?
I was wondering.
I'm so sorry.
I'm Robert Sherrill. I'm an entrepreneur here in Nashville. I do so much, I just got to say entrepreneur. I'm also running a nonprofit by the name of Impact Youth Outreach. And what gives me hope is what I've seen these last couple of days with so many different people from various walks of life just coming together. It was powerful. I was down there and I've never seen nothing like it in my life. And that just gives me hope that finally that America is getting it. You know, finally they're getting it. And I'm hopeful for the future, especially with my 5 daughters that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna have just some brief introductions, just go a little bit more into our special guest speakers today. And so for our speakers, I would like for you to just talk a little bit. You have about 3 or 4 minutes to talk about your work, to talk about why you're inspired and how you got to be in the industry and the work that you do right now. And yeah, just share a little bit about yourself for the folks that are on the call right now. And we're actually going to toss it right back to you, Robert. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to the group.
Robert Sherrill, born in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm 37 years old. I'm married with 5 kids. Fun fact, I would think people like, I have a bachelor's degree in religious studies, and a lot of people don't know that, so I had to throw that out there. But yeah, born and raised, came up in the streets. I didn't know nothing but drugs up until I was 24 years old. I never had a job. Ended up going to federal prison, serving 5 years. While I was there, I made it a mission to change my life and get out and affect other people's lives in a positive way. And so I devised a plan to start a business and a nonprofit and to write a book. And upon my release after doing 5 years, I did everything and more. And so I'm a CEO of Imperial Cleaning Systems. I also own RCS Holdings. I was the co-founder of the Lab Nashville, first Black co-working space in Nashville. Now I'm the proud owner of iStudios, which is lab on steroids technically. We have event space and office suites, which is where I'm at now. My office is housed here now. And I got a classroom in a big space. I got a 7,000 square foot building, so I'm able to, every Saturday, we have impact outreach meetings here for our kids. I'm on the board of the Foster Care Review Board for Juvenile. I'm also on the board of Nashville State Community College. I'm also on the board of Building Entrepreneurs for Success in Tennessee. And I'm also an author. Okay, I quit. That's enough. Thank y'all.
No problem. Talk about yourself. We don't get to do it often. Thank you so much. Next, we have our representative from the Small Business Association, or not association, SBA.
Administration. You were close enough.
Administration. Miss Jacqueline Merritt. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to the work that you do.
Like Mr. Sherrill, I'm a native Nashvilleian, and there's very few of us around now. Most people come here to go to school or go to work, but homegrown, been here my entire life. And I provide information to help people start businesses and stay in business. You've heard it's one thing to get to the top, it's another thing to stay there. It's one thing to start a business, it's another thing to keep it a going concern. So we help with that. And I enjoy my job because individuals share their goals, dreams, and aspirations with me. They may share more with me than they share with their relatives, because as you know, a number of our relatives say, you're gonna quit that good job and do what? So when they talk about starting a business, we direct them in the direction they should go to achieve what they want to achieve, beginning with the business plan.
Amazing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Next, we have Ryne Gipson from Higher Purpose Co. and who is the Chief Operating Officer. Oh, where'd you go? People are moving around. If you could just briefly just tell us about yourself. You have about 3 or 4 minutes to just tell us about yourself, what brings you to this work that you do, and a little bit about your organization.
Okay. As she mentioned, my name is Ryne Gipson, and first and foremost, I'm really appreciative that you all have me here. I understand that most of you are based out of Nashville and you're talking about Tennessee, but I bring you greetings from Mississippi, the Mississippi Delta, Oklahoma County, and Clarksdale, Mississippi to be more specific. As she said, I am the co-founder and chief operating officer for High Purpose Co. We're a 501c3 economic justice nonprofit that's based out of Mississippi, out of the Mississippi Delta. We was started in 2016 by myself and a good friend of mine by a guy named Tim Lampkin. Our mission is to build community wealth across Mississippi with Black residents by supporting the ownership of financial, culture, and political power. Our endeavors plan to tackle generational poverty, structural inequality, and institutionalized racism. Now, the things that we do to fight those, we utilize asset building, narrative change, and advocacy work to address the racial wealth gap in Mississippi. What brought me to this work was, like I said, being a product of Mississippi, you know, one of the poorest states in the United States. It made me who I am. And I've always felt like if not me, then who? You know what I'm saying? Being from Mississippi, I always felt obligated to make Mississippi everything that I wanted it to be for me, for my son. And you'll hear me talk about my son a lot because I'll share this with you. Like a couple of years ago when I was diagnosed with lupus, I was extremely depressed, kind of suicidal, and having a son just kind of changed my entire life. So he's like the reason I do everything that I do.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
It looks like we lost Senator Gilmore.
I'm trying to get her back on.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, thank you for the panelists that have come on today. I think for this next section, we're going to get more into kind of the presentation and the meat of kind of like why we're here today. We've had COVID, we've had a tornado, racial injustice and unrest is proliferating. We're having a whole paradigm world shift moment, right? There's a lot of crises, a lot of things that are intersecting and coming together at this moment in time. And so we want to talk a little bit about the impact of that on our small businesses and a very crucial part of the blood life, you know, of a city, of our communities. So we want to pass it to each one of our speakers. You all have about 5 to 6 minutes to do a presentation. I think, Jacqueline, we have your PowerPoint ready and queued up for you. But if you could just talk about what the impact is and the things that you have seen about the impact of the things that are happening right now, and then how you have been able to combat that or are supporting people in this time. We're gonna start with, let's go ahead and start with Robert. We'll keep the same pattern. Robert, if you could go first, and then we'll go to Jacqueline and then Ryne.
Things has been rough. I mean, you had the tornado hit, and you know, I took 2 weeks off to go and help in the community. I was raised in North Nashville, so I went right to my neighborhood. I know a lot of them people. They've been knowing me since I was a little kid, and so I was there for 2 weeks. Then get back to the office, and then a couple weeks later, COVID hit. Feels like a couple weeks. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere a month or so right in there, that hit. And you know, with the tornado, it was already slow. And then COVID just really dried everything up. I lost some of the biggest contracts I've ever had. I lost like $400,000 in like 2 days. Gone, wiped out. And I was a little shaken. I was a little afraid because, but real quick, what it taught me is that you can't count on what you think is coming. You have to be very frugal, be very smart with your money now, because you know, we got so comfortable with the bull economy that we have with the growth of Nashville. It's like money's just falling out of trees. And so with that, people were really like spending money that they really didn't have. And COVID just caught everybody off guard. And now everybody was like, oh my goodness, like I don't have any savings. I just got my income tax and bought me a new car because I just knew that I was going to have a job the next day. And so the economic impact has just been, you know, and tremendous for everybody, and especially for me. And it more so because I'm a felon, you know. I believe if I had an equitable playing field, that I would be able to weather the storm a little better. But because of my past, my non-violent past. That's a big word because my past is not violent. It was only drugs. Not to say that it's good, but I'm not a rapist or a killer or a robber. So that means something because crimes of violence is different. It's different in that when it comes to applying for loans or even when they're sentencing you when you're going back and forth to jail, it means something when it's a crime of violence, okay? So that's why I put emphasis on that. But I applied for the PPP. I was able to get that. Let's reverse it back. I got a 7A loan, SBA loan in 2018. So SBA knows me. I pay them faithfully every month with that loan, 10-year loan, okay? And then I end up getting the PPP because I do pretty well. And so Pinnacle knows me. They filed my paperwork, boom, $57,000.
Can you let us know what PPP stands for?
PPP stands for Paycheck Protection Program. And then the Economic Disaster Relief Program, which is EIDL, is the SBA loan. That's different. So you got 7A, you got EIDL, and you got PPP. With COVID, we're only dealing right now with the PPP and the EIDL. All right. Now the PPP the money was given to the banks to kind of determine, still using SBA guidelines though, but they had the power to loan to whoever they wanted to loan to, a felon, not a felon. It's up to them. But still, technically, they're supposed to go by the SBA guidelines. But it's clear, SBA clearly says that the lenders can do what they feel. All right. So that's why I was able to get the $57,000, which saved my employees. It saved me. It took a little minute, and I'm telling you, my account was negative. And all of a sudden it came through and I shouted, "Thank you, Jesus." Okay. Then I got $10,000 popped up in my account. So at first I thought it came from PPP. But no. EIDL, SBA gave me $10,000. All right. But then they say, well, then they denied me. Back up, sorry, got ahead. They gave me $10,000. They sent me an email. I filled out the form to get the whole amount, which they said, Robert, you qualify based on your numbers from $10,000 to $150,000. How much you want? I need the whole $150,000. Okay, cool. Went through the process. Then I get an email and said, explain to us about your felony. They went wrong because they were supposed to, it's a form called 912. When you tell them about your felony, you're supposed to fill out the form 912. Well, with me, they didn't ask for 912. It was just an email. So I explained in the email what my felony was, how long and how old. 2 weeks later, they denied me. They said, you don't qualify. So I was thrown off. I'm like, hold on. I got a 7A loan. I got the PPP loan, and y'all just gave me $10,000. Guess what they said? They said, well, we hope the $10,000 helped you. This is what they said. I got the letter. They said, the $10,000 we gave you, don't worry about it. We hope that was enough to help you. Now, y'all know I got 21 employees. What is $10,000 going to do for me? The day that hit my account, it was gone. All right? But, and I'm about to shut up, but y'all want to know this. Because, see, this is where it's a learning experience. I appealed. All right? And they just accepted me. So I got $150,000 coming. I don't know when. It ain't hit my account yet, but it's coming. All right. And I'll make my last point and I'm going to be done because this is important. Like a lot of people don't get to go through it. God just always keep taking me through I got to go through all the hoops. I got to make sure, he makes sure I touch everything. I don't know what I don't know. I guess it's experience. We're stewards of our experience. I always say that. But I want to say this lastly. I don't think the SBA kind of knew the gravity of what was happening and how the amount of response, or how they were going to have to respond, because the rules are changing a little bit. Because just the other day, I have more than one company. They sent me an email, and when I sent back the form 912, they responded and said, "Oh, you're fine because it's over 5 years." So. But then sometimes they say it's 3 years. Then they say it's over 10 years. Then they say, well, you can't be on probation. Well, no, maybe you can't even be convicted. You can't even be caught up in a pending case. But the thing with that is, if I'm innocent, you're innocent to proven guilty, right? So if I'm innocent, but I'm caught up in the legal dispute, just even if I'm innocent, I don't get the loan because I'm in a ongoing case at the time that I filed for the idol. And I just think that's important to point out. It's just a lot of people that are falling through the cracks. They really need the money. Thank you.
Ooh, yes. Thank you so much for telling us about your story and continuing. We will be learning. You'll be learning a lot, even continuing after this. So we appreciate that. We have some new guests that are in the room. Angela Martin, thank you for coming. We want to do a little introduce you. It's an intimate group today, so we want to get to know everybody. If you could say your name, pronouns, if you have those and want to share those. If you're in what industry or business that you have. And I want you to let us know something that has been moving you towards hope. Something that has been moving you towards hope. Angela, can you unmute and check in with us?
Okay. Yeah, as you said, I came in kind of late, did not expect to be saying anything, but yeah. What's moving me toward hope? My business is an outpatient mental health facility specializing in women. And when I started out, I was getting a lot of support and help and told that just get the business up and running. I've been in mental health for 12 years that I could get contracts and they would get me started. But when that happened, I got everything together. That did not happen. And then I had to try to find patients, and I ended up having a subcontract because I didn't have what I needed to do the business that I started out doing. So I had to be in business for a year before I could start applying for state contracts. So I hit a year last January 31st. So I'm like, okay, Lord, thank you. I can start applying for state contracts. But then I found that it was harder to do that because state generally deals with the big companies that they've been dealing with all the time. And my motto right now is triumph out of tragedy, because had it not been for the tornadoes and for COVID happening, the opportunities that I'm getting now would not have opened up. And I thank God, because now, starting next month, I will be working with the state with court mandated patients. So somebody decided they wanted to take a chance on me. So, but as far as PPP and stuff like that, I was not able to do that because they wanted a history of accounting of payroll checks. So that kind of knocked me out of that too. And but I just keep doing what I'm doing. And while I was doing my subcontracting, I also subcontracted for my company to do the actual injections at this particular institution I was working at. So I was able to build some monies for my company that's kind of keeping me afloat. And now I'm getting ready to go into a new level. And the lady that I hired to be my administrative assistant was supposed to start on April the 6th, but COVID messed that up. And right now I'm kind of looking for somebody who's willing to do some part-time admin work and kind of help me through this thing. Because right now I am the company, but yeah, God has been good and just getting me through this thing. And there's just growth in my future. I just need somebody willing to grow with me. So I said that to say this. Y'all know somebody. Y'all know somebody. But at this point in time, I'm just thanking God for the opportunities. I've had a lot of hits, but I just keep right on moving because He did not bring me this far to leave me. And that's all I know.
Yes.
That's all I know.
Thank you. Amen. Ashe. We appreciate you for sharing with us. Right now, we're going in.
One quick question for Robert before we move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Robert, what advice would you give for, people who've previously been convicted and have stuff on their records for trying to fill out the PPP forms? What was the biggest takeaway that you learned?
Well, I learned a lot. I mean, man, I went through every aspect of it. I've gotten every loan that the SBA offers in a sense. to some degrees. It was harder on some ends, and then on another end, it was easy. But I would start with like expungement. I would start, and I got some stuff on the way with reentry, and but it's all talking about getting back on a level playing field. And when you start with the expungement, you need to go downtown to the courthouse on the second floor, and they will pull your record, and they will tell you what charges can be expunged, what charges can't be expunged, and then you can actually on the spot file. And I think they've passed a law the way you don't even have to pay monies that you had to pay previously to get your record expunged. You can start there. Some people, you'll be surprised, could get their whole record wiped out. Just depends on what they got. And then on the other hand, those charges that can't be expunged, and you can apply for a pardon. You know, people take a pardon. You got to take a chance. I took a chance, and God bless me, and Governor Bill Haslam pardoned me. But then I got a federal record. You know, I don't have a state record anymore. I'm thankful for that. And I want to educate people on, you got to start somewhere. You can't just say, oh, and give up. Because if I would have gave up, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I would first start with the expungement, proceed with the pardon, no matter what anybody says, and then you can start to apply for these type of loans, because unfortunately, a lot of the people are still within that 1 to 5 year gap, and that's where they're losing. See, that's guidelines, so I have to respect that. That's just their guidelines. Is it right? I can't. That's not my place to say. They have their guidelines, but I guess my fuss was that mine was over 10 years. And I haven't been in any trouble in a decade. So that alone is what my fuss was about. But if you got an open case, if it's pending, if you're on probation, if any of your charges are within the 1 to 5 year range, you don't get no money from the SBA as it applies to EIDL. PPP, you got a chance if you got a relationship with your bank, but EIDL, they're not going to do it. That's their guidelines. Hope that helped you.
Thank you.
Angela, we see your hand raised. Did you have a comment for Robert?
Yeah, I want to ask, what type of business is he in?
Okay, if you could introduce just a little bit to Angela really quick, Robert.
So I'm in the cleaning industry. I'm Imperial Cleaning Systems. We're a janitorial restoration company. We do all things cleaning, and so that is the company I use to apply for the EIDL and the PPP.
How did you get started? I mean, I know I'm kind of late to the party, but how did you get started in it? Did somebody help you, or you just decided that's something you can do and you just did it?
Well, before I went to prison, I invested in a franchise, a cleaning franchise by the name of Anago. And so I had the experience prior to me going to federal prison. I owned my own business, but it was a franchise. And so when I went to prison after those 5 years, I knew that as a returning citizen, I wasn't going to be able to go get a good job. So I had to become an entrepreneur to make the amount of money that's needed to sustain me and my family. So it was always goal to be self-employed. And I knew the cleaning industry prior to me being released, so that's why I went back to that industry. So I worked for a year at Maggiano's, Little Italy, because when you're on federal release, you can't own your own business until you get out of the halfway house. And then when I got out of the halfway house, I ended up starting Imperial Cleaning Systems. I put my 2 weeks notice in and started the company and built it from the ground up.
How long was it before you saw a profit?
It took a while. It's one of those things you got to stay consistent. I mean, even now, sometimes, and people confuse, I think get it confused as maintaining is okay. Okay. Like if you're maintaining, meaning you make money and you just pay your bills and you ain't got nothing left, you doing all right. We can't, people want to be in a rush to start making profit. And if you look at things from those lenses, that's what you get discouraged, because you're like, I ain't making it and I've been doing it 2 years and I ain't got nowhere. Well, see, you got to change the way you look at it. Are your bills paid? Yes. Then you're doing just fine, because it's a whole lot of people out there that can't pay their bills. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. What we're going to do, we're going to move to Jacqueline really quickly to do her presentation, and then we'll get questions for Jacqueline then Ryne will speak, and then we'll have questions for Ryne. And then we'll have a brief Q&A across the board for our panelists. We do have another speaker that I think, they were just here and then they were gone. Senator Gilmore. Eventually we'll get Senator Gilmore to come and introduce herself and give her spot as well. Jacqueline, are you ready for your presentation?
Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Sherrill did a wonderful overview of it.
Well, great. You're going to give us the nitty gritty.
It's one thing to know the theory. It's another thing to know the practical experience of it.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and you let me know when you would like the slides to move.
Okay.
Oh, where did it go?
And if you would advance to the second slide and then the third slide, please.
Great.
This slide details some programs that we have available, some of which Mr. Sherrill touched on, PPP being the Paycheck Protection Program. It is a loan that is made through the financial institutions. The sun sets on this particular loan program the end of this month, June 30th. Next, we have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL loan that Mr. Sherrill talked about. This loan program has a $2 million ceiling, and there is a $10,000 forgivable advance. We do not refer to it as a grant. We refer to it as a forgivable advance. And the advance is contingent on your number of employees. 1 employee, 1,000, 3 employees, 3,000, and so forth. We also have the SBA Express Bridge loans. These are individuals. This loan is for individuals who have applied for the EIDL loan and are waiting for it, where they can get a $25,000 bridge loan, perhaps through a bank with whom they already have a relationship. I see Mr. Sherrill raising his hand, so yes, sir. Turn on your mic. Oh, okay. Turn off your mic, whatever. Okay,
I was just saying I didn't know that, so I was like, woohoo, I might need to check into that.
Oh, yes. And so we have the SBA Express Bridge loans, quick turnaround, $25,000. At SBA, we have a number of lenders, and we have a group of lenders called SBA Express lenders. So if you already have an established relationship with an SBA Express lender, you can apply for an SBA Express Bridge loan. And when and if the EIDL is approved, you can use EIDL funds to repay the SBA Express Bridge loan. Lastly, we have SBA debt relief. For anybody who gets a regular SBA guaranteed loan, Mr. Sherrill said 7A, because it was established with 7A of the Small Business Act that authorizes banks to disperse the funds and for us to guarantee a certain percentage of it. If somebody gets a 7A loan, there is debt relief. For 7A loans, which is a particular loan program, 504 loans, which is another loan program, and microloans. The principal, the interest, and any fees associated with the loan are absorbed for the first 6 months of the loan. Next slide, please. Looking at the Paycheck Protection Program, we see highlighted, it concludes again at the end of this month. It can be utilized for mortgage interest, rent, payroll, and utilities. It's up to $10 million. And the loans are forgiven as long as the funds are used to keep employees on the payroll. So the ratio that we have now is if 75% of the loan is utilized for payroll, the remaining 25% can be used for that mortgage, interest, rent, utilities. They are looking now at reducing that percentage. It's on the president's desk where 75% may be reduced to another percentage that hasn't come to fruition. The House, the Senate have passed it, like I said, on the president's desk, And if he signs it, it will be all over national news and everything else. And the program is retroactive to February 15th, and you can rehire laid off employees through June 30th at this juncture. Next slide, please. In the case that you don't have the 75 payroll, 25 other mix that's required right now for the Paycheck Protection Program, it will turn into a loan. The interest rate on the loan is 1%. The maturity is 2 years. The first payment is deferred for 6 months, so you don't have to start paying until the 7th month. It's 100% guaranteed by SBA, so the bank doesn't lose anything, and it incentivizes the bank to make the loans to entrepreneurs. No collateral is required, no personal guarantees, and no borrower or lender fees payable to SBA. At the bottom of the page, you see some websites. We have a website, www.sba.gov/paycheck protection. But the Treasury has an awesome website, and it is updated on a weekly basis, especially the frequently asked questions. What you would do when you go on that website, you would double click the red banner atop the page that talks about COVID relief. It will drop you down to CARES Act, and then cursor down and you'll see Paycheck Protection Program. You will see categories for borrowers, for lenders, tools. You will see all these links related to paycheck protection. So engage the Treasury website because they are so on it. The last link on that page, if you're looking for a PPP lender, you can go to that last website, www.sba.gov/paycheck protection/find. You would then put in your zip code, and it will locate the PPP lender closest to you. We have entities beyond banks right now making PPP loans, inclusive of fintech companies, Cabbage, Credibly, OnDeck, and others. We also have certified development companies, micro lenders, community advantage lenders, CDFIs, which are community development financial institutions, and they make loans to people who are underserved. So the first round, it was mostly conventional lenders. Now we have a potpourri of entities that make the PPP loan. Next slide, please. Looking at the economic injury disaster loan, like we mentioned, it has a ceiling of $2 million. Mr. Sherrill mentioned this is a loan directly through the Small Business Administration. And it is for working capital needs, ordinary and necessary operating expenses. But the thing about it, it is open, but it's currently open only to agricultural businesses. So if you're not a farmer or a rancher and you submit an application, it will bounce back. Now we do have some people who submitted an economic injury disaster loan right after March 20th, and they have an application number that begins with a 2. If anybody has an idle application that begins with the 2, they can make application right now, because they have to submit, they need to complete the streamlined application form, because like Mr. Sherrill said, there have been a number of changes with the item. Next slide, please. And before I start with this, they have not given us a date when the idle loan will be open to all industries again. We just stay tuned to the website and the email to figure out when that comes to fruition. Looking at the SBA Express Bridge Loan, like I said, these are for individuals who have made application to idle and in the interim need some money. They can go to an SBA Express lender with whom they already have a relationship, And the bridge loan will be up to $25,000. It's a fast turnaround, and as mentioned, it can be repaid in full or in part by proceeds from EIDL if it is indeed approved. And a website providing more information about that loan program is provided at the bottom of the page. Looking at the next slide, please. Looking at the debt relief, basically it's talking about for 7A loans, 504 loans, and micro loans, past loans and future loans where there is debt relief, where you don't have to pay the principal, interest, and any fees for 6 months. And you see that last bullet for current SBA service disaster home and business loans that was in regular servicing on March 1st. The SBA is providing automatic deferments through December 31st, 2020. And that's always good news because we can build up our working capital when we get a deferment. And more information about that in that link at the bottom of the page. Next slide, please. Like Mr. Sherrill was talking, we have experienced a 1-2 punch. The tornado came through March 3rd, and it's like COVID-19 was raging March 16th. So a very short period of time before you could regain your equilibrium from one, you were punched another time. With the disaster loans, we have two types. We have physical loans, physical disaster loans, and economic injury. Physical disaster is disaster to your structure. Maybe the windows were blown off. Maybe the roof was taken. Maybe the business was leveled in totality. That's what the physical loans would be for under the disaster loans. You see where that option concluded May 4th, 2020. For disasters, the economic injury loan lasts through December 7th. Due to my windows being blown off, people couldn't come into my restaurant. Due to the roof being taken out, people couldn't come to my beauty shop or my barber shop. Due to certain things that it adversely impacted the cash flow into the business due to the tornado. And as we talked about with COVID-19, it is open through December 21st, 2020, but as of May 4th, in the first round, let me back up. We had 2 rounds of funding. For PPP, we had a round of funding, ran out of money, funds were reappropriated. For EIDL, we had funding, ran out of funds, funds were appropriated. When funds were reappropriated for the EIDL program, it was open only to agribusinesses because usually agribusinesses are not eligible for EIDL loans. So it's open only for EIDL businesses. And stay tuned to the news and the websites and us at SBA for when it opens the industries in totality. Next slide, please. And that's just some information on the EIDL loans where they have a ceiling of $2 million. The interest is fixed. It's 3.75 for profit entities with a 30-year term. For nonprofits, the interest is fixed at 2.75 for a 30-year term. There is no prepayment penalty under the EIDL loans. And as we talked about, or that first bullet, funds must be used for ordinary and necessary financial obligations. No application fees, and there are relaxed collateral requirements. And for credit history on the fact sheet, it's sort of vague. All it says is applicants must have a credit history acceptable to SBA. We do not know the formula that the disaster office utilizes. So we don't have that sort of specificity to provide, but we do know that the requirements are relaxed. Next slide, please. And that concludes the presentation. My contact information is on that slide. Let me also give you the cell phone number. It is 202-845-4162. And I'll add it to the chat so everyone will have it.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to open the floor for about the next 10 minutes to field questions for Ms. Merritt specifically. Robert?
Jacqueline, thank you for that. That was awesome. I really would love to, at some point, for you to. Is this something that we can do on a monthly basis or something? Because there's a lot of people who don't understand, and you could help so many other people understand. You know, it's
I'm
different.
available.
All right, that's all I need to know. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely.
A question on the bridge loans.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like on the bridge loans, these are short-term loans that you have to have an application for the EIDL in place to be eligible for the bridge loan. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Okay.
Everyone knows this is the one you're referring to.
And we have, like I said, for the bridge loans, they're made through SBA Express lenders. We have a list of SBA Express lenders. So if you email me, just say, please send me a list of SBA Express lenders. I'll send it to you. And we have designated those lenders with the letter S. So you will see a listing of lenders broken down by county, Anderson County, Oak Ridge, Bedford County, so forth, through Davidson and Rutherford. We list all the 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. And we list the participating lenders under each county. And we list, we have a legend atop the page as to which loan programs a particular lender participates, and S is indicative of an SBA Express lender. And again, you must have an established relationship with an SBA Express lender prior to making application for the SBA Express bridge loan.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did have, I had a question. So is there support, or do these loans apply for businesses that are considered to be in startup?
It depends. For the EIDL loan, you need to be able to show that you were in business prior to COVID-19. And they have dates for certain things where the PPP is concerned, lease agreements if signed before February 15th. This if done before a certain date. So let's say that somebody was getting ready to start a beauty shop and the doors had not opened, but they had leased the facility. They had done the build out to have the booths in place. And they were getting ready to open like March 16th. That would work for an EIDL loan. And for PPP, if they had certain things in place by a certain date, the lease for the rent, the utilities turned on by a certain date, they could get those.
All right. Thank you so much. Rosemary, you had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, Ms. Merritt, if you help with the paperwork. I understand that even though, you know, the SBA tried to streamline it, it is still kind of a lot of paperwork. And so does the SBA help small businesses fill that out?
We do not. We have resources that are charged with that. We have SCORE, a group of mostly retired individuals, and they assist people complete paperwork. We have another group called the Small Business Development Centers. We have the Women's Business Center in Metro Center, and we have the Veterans Business Outreach Center in Metro Center as well, and they help with that. And I can put the telephone, oh, somebody, Miss Anthony is taking care of it. So SCORE, the Small Business Development
You can drop
Center.
the numbers though.
Okay. And we have those resources, and the assistance is free of charge, prepaid with your tax dollars. And Ms. Rosemarie, I'm going to put in a website. It is the website for the SBA local office.
And we have Dr. Reynolds in the room who can maybe speak about that a little bit as the director.
Yes, I wanted to make the statement that I found that the primary helpers with the paperwork were the banks. In fact, I found out that a lot of people with the PPP did not know about the loan, and their banks called them and told them there's a program coming through. That's why I believe a lot of the large businesses got the money, because the banks told their good customers and told them there's money available and I want you to apply for it. But everyone that I know of personally who got the PPP, the bank helped the people fill out the paperwork, and it was only 2 pages. If you have a payroll service such as ADP put out a special report that you could print, give it to your bank, fill out 1 or 2 pages at the most, and that was it. If you're keeping your own payroll, or you might have to do some schedules. But the bank, I have one person that was down in Atlanta that called me, and the manager of the bank said, just bring me your payroll information, and they filled it out. So a lot of banks, the banks are helping a lot too, in addition. And by the way, I'm with the Small Business Development Center at Tennessee State University, and we definitely give direction on that. So thank you, Ms. Merritt, for mentioning that to the people, because we are there to help.
Sure, you know my blood runs blue for TSU.
I know you do. In fact, you're part of us because we're part of you. So,
exactly.
That's right. So, but those banks, and let me mention this about the loan too, the PPP. Mm-hmm. My daughter applied for her bank because I thought you had to deal with your bank. And we didn't hear anything. Well, we heard one little thing about we got it, we'll be back in touch. So a month or so passed by. And I happened to be talking, I have 2 students, one who is a CPA in Pleasant View, Tennessee, one who's a CPA in Maryland, Richardsville, Maryland. And I keep in touch with them, and they were telling me how they were responding. And they told me, oh, you know that I advised my client to apply to 5 different banks. I said, and I read a lot. I spent about 4 hours a day reading on all those loans. I didn't know that you could apply to more than one bank. And no one told me that. So what happened is, after I found that out, I told people about, it doesn't even have to be your bank. And you go to the bank, and that bank, in many instances, the second bank was trying to get new customers, so they helped the people get the loan, even though they were not customers. Now, some of the banks said you must be a customer before I can give you a loan. But there were others who were not, and you can't apply to more than one bank.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Reynolds. I do have one more question for Ms. Merritt before we move to Ryne, who's going to take us to higher purpose, high ground. Can you let folks know, so the Net Loan Fund specifically works to support cooperative businesses. Are there any incentives or infrastructure with the SBA to support co-ops in this moment?
I would need to check into that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for coming in and sharing so much information.
And would you put your email address in the chat, please?
We will, for Southeast Center, I think we'll
okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to our good brother, Ryne in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Ryne, just, tell us a little bit about the work that you do with Higher Ground, some background into the org and some of the work that y'all are pushing forward, and how you have been able to navigate COVID on the ground with the people that you work with in other crises that are also intersecting. I know you all didn't have a tornado, but there's always something, right? There's always some environmental element that is affecting the Gulf Coast. So just talk to us a little bit about the work that you do and share the good wisdom with the people.
All right, no problem at all. Like as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Higher Purpose Code. We're based out of Clarksville, Mississippi, and we serve the entire state of Mississippi. Over the years, we noticed an increase in the need to provide capital to Black entrepreneurs. And this prompted us to develop what we like to call the Higher Purpose Code Funding Network. In 2019, roughly, I'm going to say like late October, early November, we decided to step into our role as a non-financial intermediary to create a safe space for Black entrepreneurs and financial institutions to unlearn systemic behavior and forever change capital practices. Now, at the surface, the funding network basically is something that connects Black entrepreneurs to a network of participating financial institutions. Now, we are not a financial institution by a long shot. We just play the middleman when it comes to getting capital for Black entrepreneurs. Now, when it comes to COVID and the things that have transpired, it was kind of a blessing that we actually started to create the funding network, because had we not made those connections, we couldn't be able to do what we're doing to help, the Black entrepreneurs during this pandemic. What we've been able to do is come up with what we call the Black Business Relief Grant Fund. And through our connections and reaching out to our funders, we were able to raise right at $400,000 to disseminate in the form of grants to Black businesses across the state of Mississippi. With that, basically all we're doing is if you are in business, we made it real simple to get the money actually. If you've been in business, I think you had to be in business before March 1st of 2020. Those who had actual brick and mortar businesses could, qualify for up to $5,000. Those who were home-based or self-employed, internet-based or whatever, they can apply for up to $2,500. The reason we wanted to do this because, as both presenters before me mentioned about the SBA, a lot of people are unaware of that. And then, like when you speak of payroll protection doesn't help an individual who's not open. Like I personally know an entrepreneur we work with who got the PPP money, and as she's mentioned, so much is allocated to, to cover payroll. Well, payroll wasn't their problem. Their problem was rent and utilities. Mm-hmm. So it pretty much kind of left them behind. So we figured that being that we set out to do this work for Mississippi, and we pretty much wanted to match our actions with work, match our words with action. And so we reached out to our funders, and given the mission that we already, carry, most of all of our funders were that, like, we didn't even have to sell it to them. Like, we told them what we were trying to do, they understood, and they just jumped right on board. Now, unfortunately, we can't help everyone. I want to say in a matter of 24 hours, I think we received something roughly about 1,500 applications. And once we closed the applications, I want to say we topped out at roughly 2,600. So as far as COVID is concerned, we're doing that. We're still offering our ongoing support for businesses as it pertains to like general business support. You have so many people out here who want to be in business, and like we've helped a number of businesses pivot their business because so much has changed because of COVID. And unlike, I know a lot of people are in a hurry to get back to normal, but the normal that we know of doesn't exist anymore. So we're just doing our part to ensure that, you know, we can continue to move forward. We continue to, you know, serve as that person that help for these Black entrepreneurs in the state of Mississippi.
Thank you, Ryan, for you know, just telling us a little bit about your organization. I know that you are, you know, not a part of a financial institution or anything like that, right? And so and we actually all met each other with the Net Loan Fund through Operation Works and through C-Common,
Right.
a program that connects groups that are helping and incubating co-ops. So appreciate that this connection is able to happen. Could you tell folks a little bit about how you were able to galvanize and bring people together who were interested in supporting economic justice work, and a little bit about, you know, some of the things that y'all have been doing with the co-ops and are trying to do with co-ops?
Now, as far as getting people to gravitate to the work, it basically came out of a lot of intentional, aggressive fundraising, you know, being very intentional with the conversations you have, you know, making good when you're in certain spaces with people because you never know who's there, being very authentic and true to what we're doing, because a lot of times you have individuals who do things and they have, you know, ulterior motives or hidden agendas, you know, being very transparent about the work and being genuine. And like, for instance, the sum total, where we just hired one person, but for the most part, everyone that works with us is from the Mississippi Delta. So it's like the people, you know, they know the problems because they've actually lived those problems. So like everyone has like a personal connection to it. And once we presented that to these various funders, they kind of, you know, they realized that this wasn't just some fly by night thing that we were trying to do. Like we really meant that. Like honest to God, everyone that works with Higher Purpose could probably go somewhere else and thrive. But we're here in Mississippi because we feel like this is home. I'm not finna go take care of your house before I, you know, leave my house messed up.
Appreciate that. We're going to open the floor for questions. Benny has his hand raised.
Yeah, Ryan, I was wondering, what type of stipulations do you have on the people who receive the grants? Any at all?
Yeah. I mean, quite naturally, we had things in place. Let me get to them because I want to make sure I don't leave any out. Basically, the requirements for eligibility was, you know, the business had to be a for-profit Black business as of March 1st in the state of Mississippi. The applicants that were self-employed could have up to 20 employees. You had to have you know, valid tax ID with the sign of a valid tax ID number. We had to have a copy of your current driver's license. You had to make sure that you were registered with the state. You had to have an active business bank account, and you had to be someone who was affected by COVID-19. Believe it or not, we had a number of people who applied who weren't affected. You know, true enough, the pandemic was happening and it happened to everyone. Everyone's business wasn't affected. And we had a lot of people who tried to sneak in and kind of make things up, you know. But we, like I said, we're weeding through it. As of right now, we've been able to get funds to a roughly 20, 25 businesses since we closed the application at the end of last month. Oh, and also, let me make sure I say this because one of my colleagues got on me about this the other day. We did not fund, like, you couldn't get funds from us if you were a liquor store, if you were in the adult entertainment business.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Ryan? He broke up?
Okay, we can't hear you.
He's on mute.
There we go. Y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
my phone kind of disconnected. But yeah, like I said, no liquor stores, no adult entertainment industry, no real estate firms, no nonprofits, and no religious-based organizations could apply for the fund.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Ryan for Higher Purpose?
Yeah, this is Angela Martin. That sounds like a very wonderful program that I would have been able to get to. But is there a program like that in Tennessee, other than what Jacqueline was talking about with the SBA?
Now I'm unaware if Tennessee has it. Like I said, I know for the most part, when we like receive inquiries from out of state, we basically kind of refer them to the SBA.
Well, and Angela, that's one part of the reason we're having the call today. So we, as the New Economy of Tennessee Fund, want to replicate what other people, such as Higher Purpose Co. is doing in Nashville and in Tennessee. So that's why we were bringing people together to hear all these options, to bring immediate resources, right? But to also hear from someone who's farther in the process than we are. But we, want to be able to bring relief funds to business. We want to be able to start co-ops. I think Benny's going to talk a little bit about, wanting to be able to convert people or convert businesses. I want to convert you spiritually. But yeah, so that's the whole idea of why we wanted to, host this call, to be able to plant seeds, bring some immediate relief, but also talk about the future and where we want to try to go with things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, go ahead, Sandra.
We don't, like Tennessee, as far as I know, the only thing that I've read as far as a program for relief related to COVID-19 is this week. On June the 2nd, they came out with the Tennessee Small Business Stimulus Program. And that program is for small businesses that have been affected by COVID-19. But you have to have been a tax-paying small business to receive direct payments. So if your business was closed or had reduction in their business because of no COVID-19, there would be a stimulus program to help with recovery. And there's a website that we can put in the chat that you can go to find out more information. And it just was passed this week.
Yes, we actually were trying, this whole call, we've been trying to get Senator Gilmore to stick on with us, and we're having a lot of technical issues with that. So she was going to share with us, but look out for that. And Tandra's going to drop the link in the chat. So if you want to get more information about that opportunity that just opened up, it'll be in the chat box.
Seems like they're going to be giving some money to businesses related to that. It doesn't seem like how much exactly, but I think I looked through there and there's some questions, and some of the questions they don't even have filled out like exactly. It says more details to come on some of the things. So it looks like they're a work in progress.
All right, thank you, Sandra, so much. We're not going to belabor very long, but we really wanted to just open the floor to all the speakers, to everyone that's here in the room, to have a brief discussion or to ask questions at this moment. And so we're just going to open the floor up for anybody in the room right now to, if you've had any questions that came up or something that came back to you, we're going to hold a little space for that, and then we're going to close.
I wanted to bring something up. This is Jackie Merritt. The Federal Reserve Board has a loan program coming out in the next week or so. And it's going to be for COVID relief. And I put the website in the chat, and MSLP stands for Main Street Loan Program. And they have several loans. They had a call about it earlier this week, and they have a priority loans that can, and I think those were for refinancing, and the loans now are for profits, but they are revisiting it to possibly include nonprofits down the line. So that's something that people may want to take.
Thank you, appreciate that. Did we have any questions from folks in the room. Martha, Nikki. I know Nikki came in a little later. If you want to introduce yourself, Nikki, to the group, your name, your business, and what industry you're in, and any questions that came up for you as since you talked on the call. And Angela as well. Jacola, Sandra.
I guess I had a question overall for the business owners. What do you think as business owners are some of the biggest needs that you feel that you need right now as business owners?
Money?
Money.
I'm just being honest. It's just.
Yeah, I think capital is always a need.
I think the most important need, I mean, because payroll is your biggest expense. I mean, and then when you got people, you got to retain your people, because when things get back right and the economy picks back up, you're gonna need these people to continue to grow your business. But then what's going on now is people making more money sitting at home than they are going to work, because they've upped the amount of money you can get on unemployment, and they've extended it past the standard 24 weeks that they normally give it to you. I know somebody that got approved for unemployment for up to 8-9 months. Like, that's gonna really hurt. That you got 40-some million people sitting at home right now. You got 500,000 people unemployed, filed for unemployment in Tennessee alone. Like, what is it gonna take to get those people back to work? So that's why the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, was vital for people like me, because I'm trying to retain my people. I need them in order to get through this. But now you got a lot of people like, lay me off or fire me. I don't care. I'm going to go file for unemployment and make more money on unemployment than you make working for the people who you work for. So it's going to be interesting to see the next 10 months. I just don't know. It's going to be.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that and dig in a little bit about, the impending recession, depression period, that we're in right now. If folks have questions or even just reflections that like Robert just gave.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hog this, but I got to say this again.
Oh, no, go in.
Nashville is so inflated. I'm a Nashvilleian, been here all my life. I seen $20,000 houses land on $500,000. That's unheard of. It's inflated. You got these apartments, 700 square foot apartments, renting for $1,800-$1,900 a month. It's inflated. Then when this bubble pop, it's gonna hit Nashville harder than anywhere in the United States. We're one of the fastest growing cities. You got all these big companies coming here, boosting up the property value, driving all the local people out. It's just chaotic right now. Housing is so all over the place. People are running to Lebanon. People are running to Clarksville. Like, I'm seeking to buy property in Clarksville. Now, that's my next where I'm investing, because everybody can't afford to live here. They still got houses. $200,000 house is, you can't even find, if you pull out your phone right now and search a house
with it, and you get
$200,000, you ain't gonna find nothing. In Clarksville, they still got houses for like $115,000, $140,000 houses. But yeah, the bubble is gonna pop, and Nashville gonna feel it. I'm telling you. Thank y'all. I'm sorry.
No, that's real. That's real. We need to be honest. Those are the realities we need to be able to unearth and really tell the story, so we can look at it and be like, okay, and make a plan. Because if we don't know, it's gonna hit us upside the head. Yeah. What other things are people
that bubble to pop?
What other things are people seeing that could be coming down?
Student loan bubble is there. That's already busted. People can't afford to pay, aren't going to pay. It's ninja loans, just like the housing bubble that was in 2018. And that's why they still keep talking about writing off student loans. And people, it's horrible because they give all this money to 18-year-olds with hopes and dreams of making it. No jobs, no opportunities. It's just like going in a bank with your 18-year-old and be like, please give me $200,000, and I have no job. And they give them this money to go to Vanderbilt or Yale, and they give them that money, and they walk out and skip along, and then they don't pay them back with a liberal arts degree and a degree in theater.
Yeah.
This is Ruthie Reynolds, and I just want to say I agree that the housing situation in Nashville, which creates the transportation problem in Nashville, can't last much longer. Robert, I think you are totally correct. It is just cannot survive. When the workers, and I wanted to relate it to small business, when you soon will not be able to hire workers because they can't afford to live in Nashville and they have no other way of getting in here to work. So when they have to pay $900 for a $200 apartment, they just won't be able to do it. And I'd just like to add, I'd like to encourage, and for all of you to encourage small business owners. Sorry about that, didn't turn my phone off. But I would like to encourage all of you to stay abreast of what your financial statements are telling you, because the more you know about your business and what you own, what you owe, and what your operations are, the better able you are to manage your business. And so don't give up, keep pushing. I mean, that has been the thing I've been listening to for the last couple of days, in terms of our injustice part, our small business part, our just being a person in this time. You can't give up, but you've got to stay informed. Read more than you've ever read before. Just continue to, dedicate a short portion of your day to read what's going on, because things are changing as you speak. And if all of you remember, if you look back over the PPP loan, the EIDL loan, any of the operations about how they're treating things, haven't they changed? The rules have changed almost weekly. It's this week they're saying one thing you must have, next week is another thing. So you've got to stay abreast. All I want to say is to stay strong, continue to read, know what's going on with your business and the business world in general.
Thank you so much, so much. And on that note, I just want to pose to the group as we start to close out, what has been a win for you during this process? Has there been support that has come to your rescue, or even for the people that work with people every day? What are some of the stories and the wins that people have, that you've been able to support people through?
Well, this is Ruthie again. I'd just like to say that
yes,
I am very proud of the position that Tennessee State University has taken in helping people in general. We are an educational institution, but during this time, we've been able to forgive fees for our clients in our incubation center. We've got some challenges in dealing with being on campus and not being able to be on campus, but we're going to work through those. But I am proud of our local HBCU holding on and presenting itself and giving help to all people. I don't know if you guys know about Tennessee State just opened up the first of its kind COVID-19 Academy. And there will be information all in every area. I have been as to develop an online certificate program in small business and workforce development. I'll be calling on some of you guys to help out with information. But just know that there's information out there, and when in doubt, you can call Tennessee State University and we'll try to lead you in the right way. We have that Small Business Development Center, we have the Incubation Center, and my office is the Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, which is in charge of both of those, and we're trying to be good citizens.
Yes, thank you. Any other stories or wins that we've been able to conquer in this time?
One win that I've seen is that people have been able to adapt and adjust. I read somewhere that on intelligence tests, usually vocabulary is the core, but they do not measure how individuals adapt and adjust. And I have heard the word pivot over and over again. And for our small businesses to adapt and adjust, to pivot, a lot of people have gone on, like y'all have, with webinars, virtual training, and have kept it moving. So I think people have learned that they're stronger than they think. And for those of us who are not good with technology, we have really had to pivot to stay abreast of things during this COVID-19.
On that note, on pivot, I'd like to mention something about what we do at the Southeast Center. I'm sorry I dropped out earlier. I lost my network for some reason, and matter of fact. But at the Southeast Center, our primary focus, of course, is cooperative, workers' cooperatives. And this is where workers actually own the business. And what drives us, I guess, in our purpose and our mission is the need to address the problem of economic disparity, particularly when it comes to the racial wealth gap. And one of the ways of addressing that, of course, is through increasing ownership opportunities. And we find that cooperatives, workers' cooperatives, provide an opportunity for workers to collectively pool the resources and own the business. So one of the things that I would like to suggest to some business owners, if you know of any, who are perhaps considering closing or getting out of the business, consider the option of allowing the workers, if you have workers, to buy the business, to convert the business. That's one of the services that we want to provide. We at the Southeast Center provide, we promote and support cooperatives because we know we've got to do something different to address the problem of the wealth gap. Currently, the situation stands where if the average white families were to freeze their wealth where it is today, it would take the average black family 228 years to equal that wealth. That's going at the trajectory that we're going now, which means that quite simply, that gap will never close. We've got to do some things differently and providing more opportunities for the Black community to actually own businesses and start building that equity is something we've got to do. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're committed to. And I just wanted to present that to the group so that we can share that with others. I wish you would. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So the Net Loan Fund, the new Economies of Tennessee Loan Fund, is actually a collaboration of some different community partners. Southeast Center for Cooperative Development, Free Hearts. I like to call myself a free agent, but I myself am creating my own cooperative business. And so there's a lot of overlap. If there's anybody that is from the new Economies of Tennessee team that would like to talk about the fund and yeah, just some wins or things that are coming up as far as the work that we're doing around economic justice.
I'll let Jacqueline back to speak on the Net Fund.
Or Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to pass it to Dawn.
Great.
Okay. Well, I could just say a little bit just about how we got here, why this is important to us. So Free Hearts, for those that don't know, we're an organization that's led by formerly incarcerated women that provides support, education, and advocacy in organizing families that are impacted by incarceration. And I really thank Robert for his perspective, because I agree. That's the same thing that I was thinking from the beginning. I had business before I was incarcerated, but it you know, before I was incarcerated, I didn't make it to like profit, but I was still getting by. But it's different when you come out of incarceration. That I usually like to say that it's not a luxury anymore to own a business. It is a necessity because of the many ways that people are barred out of the regular businesses due to your background, and if not barred, just like completely exploited due to your background. Stolen labor, just making you, just not having a living wage and treating you like they know you need this employment, and so you're just not valued in the same way. So I knew that it was, for me, and what I've seen with a lot of our sisters that have come home, like everybody has a business, whether it is a very small micro business, whether it's like, and really no business is small. If it helps you to get by and it puts food on your table and feeds your kids, then I don't want to call it small. But when it comes to like the way that's, for example, a small business administration may view the business, some of our businesses may be micro businesses, but this is how we're able to feed our families and take care of our loved ones. And so at the time, I didn't know anything about cooperative businesses, but I did know that many members of our base did own small businesses and some micro businesses as well. And so I was introduced to the idea of cooperative businesses through the book Collective Courage, which is Jessica Gordon Rembrandt. It's a great book. And the executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls was starting to read it, and she passed it along to me, and both she and I read it. And we were like, okay, this sounds awesome, and then still didn't know a lot about it, but the way that it was talking about, building this worker-owned businesses and the history of it, and just knowing that it could be done. And then around that same time, we had town halls all across the country. Free Hearts did one, but we did them in 20 other cities all across the country. And a lot of what was coming up is people that were formerly incarcerated like us. They wanted cooperative businesses. They wanted pathways to ownership. They wanted economic development. And for us to not just look, and it was a part of our reentry, and it's not just looking at, what people may look at traditionally, but the economic development piece was important, and we were tired of like being subjected to the same things by companies that were not valuing us. And companies, literally when I came home, one of the first things I did was like finish my bachelor's and got me a MBA. And then I was like, okay, I'm good because now I got this felony, but now I got these degrees. And I went around maybe about 60 interviews total. And I remember my dad, rest in peace, he was taking me around to a couple of them. And he was just like, you're not getting any of these jobs. Why do you keep trying? But I was just like, eventually somebody will see. To where I ended up with my brother, he and I ended up doing day labor for, construction companies. They have plenty of those type of jobs where it's like you get paid for the day, you have to go stand in a long line to get your check, and they may pay you about $10, and the company's making like 15, I don't know, 15, 16, just say, and it's just still you're not getting any bids, etc. And so that's what I was doing while we were building Free Hearts. And plenty of our folks that have came home have done the same thing, because those are places that you can go, that you know that you can go in and get a job. So I know this was probably longer than I was supposed to talk, but learning about cooperative businesses really in the book. And then we actually were told about C Commons, and they had a convening coming up right after that. Like literally it was just like back to back, and going there, it was like the biggest learning curve in a weekend ever. And I was like, no, this is something. I remember calling Jacqueline, like, well, the whole time I'm hitting her while I'm there, but my signal was bad where we were. And on the way back, I'm like, Jacqueline, we need this, you know. And it just seemed like such an answer to something that we've been really struggling with. You know, even in a lot of our organizing is around like the criminal justice system and that. But if our folks aren't able to feed their people, if our folks are houseless and you know just don't have anything, it's really hard to organize people when their basic needs aren't even being met. And so when I came home from that convening, one of the first things, one of my next steps that they gave us was to find people that knew about co-ops. And so Jacqueline was like, I know Rihanna knows about co-ops, and we got a few people. And then Rihanna and Joseph were saying, well, actually, have y'all talked to Benny and Rosemary? And so ever since then, this has been history, and we're still building this plane while we fly it. But we know that New Economy of Tennessee Fund is needed now more than ever before, and I think it's prophetic that we've all come together. I really have enjoyed this conversation that we've had, and I look forward to more conversations of seeing, you know, what we can do together. You know, how can we change things? How can we make sure that the businesses that we know and love don't have to close their doors no matter what is ahead of us? So that's my spiel. I don't know if anyone has anything else to say.
We're actually, you kind of hit it. I'm behind on the PowerPoint. But definitely just want to reiterate that this group has come through for over the last year or so, really trying to do a lot of more of that bridging of the economic work of building cooperatives, of doing community-centered, community-focused work. We particularly are a fund that is to support businesses in the co-op model. And it is a non-extractive loan fund. So we do not make a profit off of your profit unless it is to rebuild the fund and to regenerate it for other people. And so as long as you are in the red, we're not collecting those types of fees. We want our business to be successful, which also makes it very, very tight process in which the groups that we incubate, we want to make sure that they do get to solvency. And so we put a lot of effort into doing the one-on-one incubation work around that. And so this is just a little bit about the non-extractive model and some of the work that we're doing, but we are about employee owner power and democratic workplaces. So we definitely have the idea about everybody being the boss and not just one boss and other different forms of businesses. We offer technical assistance, we educate like this forum, like this meeting, and we're also working and networked with other different cooperative funds around the South and around the country that do similar work like we do. And we're fundraising, we're funding and financing cooperatives to help them in their journey and to at least start off and get going. Okay. And what's next for us is that we are going to be doing an online worker co-op 101 training. And Southeast Center is going to be helping us out with that. We're super proud of that. We are offering this course from 10 to 11:30, an hour and a half course on June 17th. It is free. So please register at www.bit.ly /co-ops 617. And again, the bit.ly is co-ops. Is that, I don't know if that dash is part of the link or what. If someone could drop that in the chat, if you know the difference, that would be great. But we're really excited about this. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get more people knowing about co-ops in kind of our networks and our ecosystem. That way, and get people incubated and understanding and knowing the fullness of what is to be a owner, a business owner. And we all know everything that we said today, that is not an easy feat. And so we're just offering the co-op model as a way for folks to navigate and understand what ownership could look like for them. So thank you for coming. We are starting an emergency fund for small businesses. Yay. This is our big kind of announcement of that. 5,000 seed funding has already been established, and we're trying to build and grow that fund. So if you know any people that are willing and would like to donate and give money to Net Loan Fund to help support most small businesses, please reach out to Southeast Center. Their email is in the chat. They're helping to funnel funds and donations into the emergency fund. Again, thank you so much for coming. We are so grateful that everybody took the time to be here today. I thought that this meeting actually was until 6:30, but y'all stayed in here. You didn't leave, so yay, that worked out. So thank you all for holding on a little bit longer than we expected. But we appreciate y'all for coming on. Is there any last thoughts? We're gonna do a one-word checkout. And we hope everyone is blessed and blessings upon everyone's business, that there would be abundance coming your way. Ashe, amen. We're covering that over you. And yeah, just give me a one-word checkout, and we're going to go just kind of around the room.
Well, let me ask a question first.
Okay, go ahead, Vinny.
Is the recording going to be available to the public?
Thank you. Yes, so we have recorded this session. I think right now we'll decide if we're going to make it super public. I think it should be fine. But we know for sure we're going to send it to all the people registered on the call today. So you for sure will have one in your inbox of the recording. And then we can talk about how we're going to make it more public later. But for those in the room, we'll definitely get a recording. Okay, let's start our one-word checkout of just like how you're feeling right now going into the rest of your evening and into this weekend. And I'll go first. My one word is confidence. Confidence. And I'll pass it to Benny.
I would say optimistic. Oh, I'm sorry. Need to pass it to Don?
Yeah.
I would say inspired, and I will pass it to people.
Ryan?
Try to come up off of mute.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
My bad.
Go ahead.
Here you go. Y'all can hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My phone kind of acting crazy. I would say mighty.
Mighty.
And I pass it to Rosemary.
Yeah, I feel real energized, and I'll pass it on to Martha.
Okay. I feel hopeful.
I'll pass it for you. I'll pass it to Sandra.
I feel blessed. I'll pass it to Robert.
Right.
Yeah. What did you say, Robert? We missed you.
I feel grateful.
Grateful. Thank you.
Now I'll pass it to Jacqueline.
I feel grounded. And I pass it to, did Ruthie go?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'll have to join Sandra and say blessed.
Bless. Okay. I think that hit everybody. We have Laquita Baker. I think you came in a little later. But how are you feeling? Okay.
You can push the mute button.
A mute button. Okay. Well, we appreciate you for coming on, Miss Laquita. We are going to be sending out the recording if you register for the call. So hopefully we can catch that later. Thank you once again. Everyone get off mute and give a round of applause for our panelists today that represent and share their knowledge. We thank you. This is invaluable. And we're going to be doing this again. So I'm super excited for when we have a more robust room. There'll be so many more questions. You just won't know what to do. But it'll be good.
Thank everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you,
Jackie,
everybody.
Robert, Ryan, everyone. Thanks for coming.
No problem at all.
All right. Everyone have a good night. Thanks.
Good night. Have a good weekend.